Hello, I am Arion. This is Book Zealots. 1845 Manifest Destiny. I'm cutting it really close this time. Had issues with my printer, but I persevered. I have notes. I am going to try and do this quickly. We're starting with January 1st. The Cobble Hill Tunnel in Brooklyn is completed. Have you all ever been to New York? Do you know about this tunnel? Apparently it exists, but it isn't utilized. I've never been. I probably never will, because you don't have the same freedoms in New York that you have here in Kentucky. I digress. I apologize. Anyway, so this tunnel is also known as Atlantic Avenue Tunnel. It is abandoned, and it was beneath Atlantic Avenue in Brooklyn. Let me know if you've been there. Let me know if you know about this. It is the oldest railway tunnel beneath the city street in North America that was fully devoted to the rail. And it is also deemed the oldest subway tunnel in the world by the Guinness Book of World Records. Let me know if you've ever been on a subway. The only subway that I have been on was probably at the Atlantic Airport. Does that count? I don't know. I think it was Atlanta. I think it was. January 29th, The Raven by Edgar Allan Poe is published for the first time. Seems like there's a lot going on with Edgar Allan Poe in like just a very short period of time. Because didn't I mention him last month? I think I did. February 1st, Anson Jones, President of the Republic of Texas, signs the charter officially creating Baylor University in present-day Waco. Not Waco, Waco. If you know, you know. Which becomes the oldest university in the state of Texas, operating under its original name. Good job. I will also try and put pictures. The Baylor University is a private Baptist research university. It was chartered in 1845 by the last Congress of the Republic of Texas, located on the banks of the Brazos River next to I-35 between the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex and Austin. February 28th, the United States Congress approves the annexation of Texas. March 1st, President John Tyler serves a bill authorizing the United States to annex the Republic of Texas. March 3rd, Florida, or depending on which side of the state you're on, Florida, is admitted as the 27th U.S. state. Also March 3rd, Postal Reform Act of Congress standardizes nationwide mail rates. Now, did the mail still have to be paid by the receiver? I didn't look that part up. March 4th, the United States Congress passes legislation overriding a presidential veto for the first time. Also March 4th, James K. Polk is sworn in as the 11th President of the United States, and George M. Dallas is sworn in as the 11th Vice President. April 10th, the Great Fire of Pittsburgh destroys much of the city. It was sparked by an unattended fire that ignited a nearby ice shed, yeah, I know, or barn, and spread due to a number of factors, including poor water pressure. The poor water pressure the outstripped infrastructure gave to the equipped volunteer fire companies, the mixture of soot, flour dust, and cotton fibers in the air from the industry. Oh boy, that was a powder keg waiting to go off. The frequent near-gale force winds hitting the city at midday, okay, at midday and the 6 weeks before the fire that the city had been deprived of rain. After the fire, the city was shortly rebuilt. You go. Man, people worked better back then. Local ministers and the mayor of the neighboring Allegheny city blamed the disaster on the wrath of God. I wonder if YouTube will choose this as my thumbnail, because I don't do AI. Honey, y'all, I do not do AI. Nor do I pay for thumbnails. So I wait for YouTube to give me the worst, the most ridiculous face that I've made during recording. And then I choose the least awful. Okay, so 2 people died, and one author estimates around $12 million in damages. That's insane. So in 2024 dollars, I didn't calculate 2026, it was $411 million. The state legislature agreed to grant the city $50,000 in relief to fund taxes from destroyed structures and to give the whole city a 3-year reprieve from taxes. The market for replacement homes and household articles further spurred the city's industries, and the fire was eventually held to have spurred the city to great growth. An attitude encouraged by the Pittsburgh's industrialists. April 21st, Peoria, Illinois is incorporated a city. This one doesn't have a date. I will try and find it. Frederick Douglass's narrative of the life of Frederick Douglass, an American slave, autobiography, is written by the Boston Anti-Slavery Society. May 23rd, New York City Police Department, NYPD, is formed, replacing an old night watch system. July 4th, near Concord, Massachusetts, David Thoreau, embarks on a 2-year experiment in simple living at Walden Pond. July 19th, Great New York City Fire of 1845 breaks out in Lower Manhattan. The fire started at about 2:30 a.m. on Saturday, July 19th, 1845, on the 3rd floor of J.L. Van Doren oil merchant and stearin candle manufacturer, known as a seller of whale oil at 34 New Street in Manhattan, and spread quickly to adjoining buildings. That was part of the problem back then. They crammed all the buildings. They're like right next to each other or connected. Poof! The city hall alarm bells began to ring at about 3 a.m. 30 minutes later, summoning firefighters. Good grief! July through August, in the United States Magazine and Democratic Review, editor John L. O'Sullivan declares that foreign powers are trying to prevent American annexation of Texas in order to impede the fulfillment of, it's funny they misspelled that, the fulfillment of our manifest destiny to overspread the continent allotted by Providence for the free development of our yearly multiplying millions, end quote. The first use of the phrase manifest destiny. August 28th, the journal Scientific American begins publication that was informally abbreviated SCIAM, S-C-I-A-M, sometimes S-A, in an American popular science magazine. Many scientists, including Albert Einstein and Nikola Tesla, have contributed articles to it, with more than 150 Nobel Prize winners having been featured since its inception. So that might be a gray area if you read the Science American, I'm sure they're online. I say that, but I don't know. I don't know that if they would charge for it either. But since the magazine came out in 1845, might be a gray area. It counts. In print since 1845, it is the oldest continuously published magazine in the United States. Scientific American was owned until June 2026 by Springer Nature, which is a subsidiary of Holtzbrink Publishing Group. I've never heard of either. Have you? October 10th in Annapolis, Maryland, the best school, later renamed the United States Naval Academy, opens with 50 midshipmen students and 7 professors. Can you imagine attending a university with 7 professors and only 50 students? It just boggles my mind. So the United States Naval Academy is a federal service academy adjacent to Annapolis, Maryland. It was established on October 10th, 1845, during the tenure of George Bancroft as Secretary of the Navy. Naval Academy is the second oldest of the 5 U.S. service academies, and it educates midshipmen for service in the Officer Corps of the United States Navy and the United States Marine Corps. That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. October 13th, a majority of voters in the Republic of Texas approve a proposed constitution that, if accepted by the United States Congress, will make Texas a U.S. state. October 21st, the New York Herald becomes the first newspaper to mention the game of baseball. The New York Herald was owned by its founder, James Gordon Bennett Sr., in 1845, which I have to mention. One of my Lincoln books for my Lincoln Challenge is Lincoln and the Power of the Press by Harold Holzer. It mentions Bennett in this. I'm not very far into this book. It is so dense. It is exhausting. It's not Mao, it's not Stalin, it's not Napoleon, but it's dense. So I'm reading it in little bits and pieces. But I thought it was really cool when Bennett was mentioned in the notes for 1845, and that it included a game of baseball. And there's more to come, so hang on. So October 22nd, the New York Morning News becomes the first newspaper to include a box score of a baseball game. The New York Morning News in 1845 was edited and principally associated with the journalist John L. O'Sullivan and his partner Samuel J. Tilden. The registered publisher and business proprietor of the daily newspaper at that time was John H. I'm going to butcher this, Guion, Guion. I also want to mention, did you all know that Lincoln, he owned a newspaper. He bought a newspaper. And apparently, he bought it to control certain narratives. Did y'all know that? I didn't. I did not learn that in school. I did not learn that in the government institution known as education. No, I did not. Okay, John L. O'Sullivan founded the paper in 1844 as a Democratic daily to champion territorial expansions. It was in December 27th, and this might be mentioned later. Yeah, I'll try and skip that part. So December 27th of 1845, the edition of this very newspaper that O'Sullivan penned a famous editorial advocating for the annexation of Oregon, which popularized the phrase, Manifest Destiny. December 2nd, Manifest Destiny, U.S. President James K. Polk announces to Congress that the Monroe Doctrine should be strictly enforced and that the U.S. should aggressively expand into the West. Well, that's interesting. Interesting. December 5th, the Templars of Honor and Temperance is founded in the United States. The Templars of Honor and Temperance, also known as the Temple Ritter Orden, is an international fraternal order. It was founded in New York City, New York in 1845 to promote the values of the temperance movement. The group expanded to Sweden in 1887 and is now active in Scandinavia. Who knew? December 6th, Alpha Sigma Phi. Let me know if your ears perk up. This fraternity is founded, commonly known as ASIG, is an intercollegiate men's social fraternity founded at Yale University in New Haven, Connecticut. Have your ears perked up yet? It is the 10th oldest social fraternity in the United States. It was founded by 3 men at Yale as a secret sophomore society, composed of many of the school's poets, athletes, and scholars. Upon rising through the ranks of the school, members shared membership with Alpha Sigma Phi in their sophomore year, one of 3 fraternities in their junior year, and Skull and Bones or Scroll and Key in their senior year. Yeah. December 9th, Joshua L. Martin is sworn in as the 12th governor of Alabama, replacing Benjamin Fitzpatrick. December 27th, anesthesia is used for childbirth for the first time. Moving on. American journalist, I mentioned that one. July 29th, Texas is admitted as the 28th U.S. state for the United States of America. Hoorah. Spaniards, so this one doesn't have a date. It says unknown date, but I tried researching it to find more information and I couldn't find any, but I'm including it. So if you know any information about this, let me know. Spaniards find Lost Dutchman mine in Arizona. Let me know if you find anything. Births. January 8th, Minnie Willis Baines, an American author, she was an American author. She favored temperance, morality, religion, and women's suffrage, writing innumerable short stories and poems in magazines and papers from the age of 14. January 19th, Anna Manning Comfort, American physician who specialized in the treatment of women's diseases. She was the first woman medical graduate to practice in the state of Connecticut. That's pretty cool. She was also an activist and vocal opponent of American imperialism. She was a leader in the women's suffrage, but it doesn't say she was a Christian, so there's that, movement, as well as a social reformer who defended the rights of Native Americans. Oh, no, that's not her. Okay. And African Americans. A member of Cirrhosis since 1878, Comfort was also a pioneer club woman. Interesting. February 15th, Elihu Root, a statesman and diplomat, recipient of the Nobel Peace Prize in 1912. His parents wanted him to become a minister. He wanted to become a lawyer. And lawyer he became. Republican politician and statesman who served as the 41st United States Secretary of War under Presidents William McKinley, and Theodore Roosevelt, and the 38th United States Secretary of State, also under Roosevelt. March 4th, Henry Clay Taylor was an admiral. Okay, so I had to look this up because I wasn't sure what a rear admiral was, so I had to look that up. He became a rear admiral in the United States Navy who served in the American Civil War and the Spanish-American War. He also served as Chief of the Bureau of Navigation and the President of the Naval War College. I did not look up to see where the Naval War College is. March 20th, Lucy Myers Wright Mitchell, scholar of classical sculpture. She was born in Persia because her parents were missionaries, and she died in Switzerland. She counts. She's an American citizen. She went to school in America. So where did she go to school? She went to school. I don't see it. I don't have it in my notes. But she was an American archaeologist and historian, a missionary who studied ancient art. I don't have it listed here either, but she spoke a lot or read a lot of languages. March 22nd, John Bannister Tabb was a poet, a Roman Catholic priest, and professor of English. April 21st, William Healy Dahl, malacologist, an explorer. He was an American naturalist, a proponent malacologist. If you're asking what in the world is a malacologist, yes, that was me. I looked it up. So from the Greek word, the malakos means soft, and the logos, okay, in the Bible, logos is word, but when I looked it up regarding this guy, it said study. So then I had to go down a whole rabbit hole, and it's study or reason, anyways. So it's a branch of study for invertebrate zoology. They study mollusks and phylum of animals, and second largest phylum of animals in terms of described species after the arthropods. Mollusks include snails, slugs, clams, and cephalopods, along with numerous other kinds, many of which have shells. And then there's more information about him. I will list all of my details, all of my notes in the community page. May 14th, Charles J. Train was an admiral as well. He served in the Spanish-American War and later as the second commander-in-chief of the United States Asiatic Fleet. May 18th, John B. Allen, U.S. Senator for Washington from 1889 to 1893, was an American lawyer and politician who served as a United States Senator from Washington from 1889 to 1893. A member of the Republican Party, he previously served as the United States Representative from Washington Territories at large congressional district in 1889. June 13th, Effie German. I think it's German. Now, this is an interesting character, especially for this time period. She was an actress and a singer. Now, y'all know the reputation, right? The reputation of the women that were on the stage back then. Yes. She was from Augusta, Georgia, a descendant of the, is it Germans or Germans of Baltimore, who were an old theatrical family. She excelled as a soubrette. This is a French word, so I'm going to try and technical difficulties. So soubrette is a female minor stock character in opera and theater, often a pert lady's maid. By extension, the term can refer generally to a saucy or flirtatious woman, young woman. The term arrived in English from Provençal via French, and means conceited or coy. July 4th, Edmonia Lewis, an African-American sculptor, also known as, oh, this is who I was thinking of. It was this lady. I'll edit. Okay, so Edmund Lewis was an African-American sculptor, also known as Wildfire, born in upstate New York of mixed African-American and Native American heritage from the Mississauga Ojibwe, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, that word. I'll put it here. She worked for most of her career in Rome. She was the first African American and Native American sculptor to achieve national and then international prominence. She began to gain prominence in the U.S. during the Civil War. At the end of the 19th century, she remained the only Black woman artist who had participated in and been recognized to any extent by the American artistic mainstream. That's phenomenal. July 19th, Horatio Nelson Young, does that name sound familiar? Naval hero, he was buried in New Brunswick, Canada. He counts, he was an American. Was a United States Navy sailor who received the Medal of Honor for his actions on the USS Lehigh during the American Civil War. August 27th, Martha Capps Oliver was an American poet and hymn writer from Illinois. She was the author of A Year of Sacred Song, A Year's Good Wishes, Round the Year with the Poets, The Far West Easter Legend, and Christmas Legend. Oliver also wrote, she's not alive. She wrote several hundred Easter and Christmas booklets and poems, numerous songs, hymns, anthems, and cantatas. And yes, I had to look up cantatas. Go do your research. I'm not going to tell you what it is. But it was interesting, though I did not like listening to the soprano singing in the video that I watched. September 9th, Warner B. Bailey, Rear Admiral, was a United States Navy officer. His career specialized in engineering and included service in the Spanish-American War and the investigation of the sinking of the battleship USS Maine. Interesting. And then I have the information about what a Rear Admiral is. September 17th, Calvin S. Bryce. He was a senator from Ohio. He was an American businessman and a Democratic politician from Ohio. Ohio! Try it, it's fun. He is best remembered for his single term in the United States Senate, his role as chairman of the Democratic National Committee, and his formative role in the American rail industry. He was a leading bourbon Democrat. Do you know what that is? I didn't either. I had to look it up. October 13th, Charles Stockton. Had to wet my whistle. Charles Stockton was a Rear Admiral in the U.S. Navy and the U.S. Navy's first uniformed expert in international law. Haha, that's cool. Stockton served as the president of the Naval War College and later served as the president of the George Washington University from 1910 to 1918. October 17th, John J. Gardner was an American businessman, a politician, Civil War veteran, and statesman who represented Atlantic County, New Jersey in the New Jersey Senate and United States House of Representatives. He was also mayor of Atlantic City, New Jersey. He's a busy man. He was extra. October 21st, Will Carleton was an American poet from Michigan, and Carleton's poems were most often about his rural life. In Michigan? In 1845, I guess there was some, is there still rural land in Michigan? November 3rd, Edward Douglas White was an American politician and jurist who served as an Associate Justice of the Supreme Court of the United States and as the ninth Chief Justice of the United States from 1910 until his death in 1921 for a total of 27 years on the bench. He was a descendant of the Lee family of Virginia. Yes. November 9th, Elizabeth Reed, resident of Macon, Georgia, born Elizabeth Jones Reed. She was a young Southern belle. When she came to Macon, Georgia to attend Wesleyan College, she was married to Confederate Army Captain Briggs Hobson Napier. Why do all these people have so many names? It's just the title with it. Anyway, on October 26, 1865, and they had, hold on to your seat, buckle up, 12 children. 12 children. Wow. This woman was the subject of an Allman Brothers Band song in memory of Elizabeth Reed. I tried to listen to it. My ears practically bled. I hated it. There's that. That ain't my style. It just, no. Every which way, no. March 16th. Okay, now we're talking about the deaths. Those were the births. Now we're talking about the people that died on the days they died. March 16th, 1845, Isaac C. Bates, a U.S. Senator from Massachusetts. He was elected to the U.S. House of Representatives, where he was an anti-Jacksonian. So there you go. You can read that. If you hate Jackson, read about this dude. He was chairman of the U.S. House Committee on Military Pension in the 21st Congress. He declined to be a candidate for renomination. You know what? Yes. Awesome. March 18th, John Chapman. Do you know that name? Maybe you know this name, Johnny Appleseed. He was an American pioneer nurseryman who introduced trees grown with apple seeds, as opposed to trees grown with grafting. We have tried to grow an apple seed. We have tried. It didn't get very far. To large parts of Pennsylvania, Ohio, Indiana, Illinois, and the Canadian province of Ontario, as well as, really? What's the weather like in Ontario? As well as the northern countries of West Virginia. He became an American icon while still alive due to his kind, generous ways, his leadership in conservation, and the symbolic importance that he attributed to apples. An apple a day keeps the you-know-who away. He was the inspiration for many museums and historical sites, such as the Johnny Appleseed Museum in Urbana, Ohio, and today is recognized as an American folk hero. I've been to Ohio, but I have not been here, and I have not been to this museum, obviously. Now I have to check to see how far away it is. Okay, April 10th, Thomas Sewell, anatomist, was an American medical doctor, writer, and academic. He gained notoriety for being convicted of body snatching, and later went on to become a professor. Can you imagine? Can you imagine being a student in his class and knowing his reputation? I'm just saying. I would not want to be a student in his class. June 8th, Andrew Jackson, 7th President of the United States, was the 7th. Why is this redundant? From 1829 to 1837, he rose to fame as a U.S. Army general and served in both houses of the U.S. Congress. His political philosophy, which dominated his presidency, became the basis for the rise of the Jacksonian democracy. November 11th, Maria Gowan Brooks. She was born in Medford, Massachusetts, In 1794, her father was a man of literary tastes, and she was exposed to a lot of poetry in her home. I'm sorry, I'm just reading the notes. By age 9, she memorized a large quantity of prose. When Abigail was 13, her father died and he was bankrupt. Can you imagine being an orphan at 13 years old and not knowing how you're going to make, like, they didn't have foster care back then. So she was taken under the care of her widowed brother-in-law, John Brooks, a Boston merchant who was more than 30 years her senior and wanted to marry her. He proposed when she was 14 and married her at 16. She became the stepmother of his 2 children, and the couple had an unhappy marriage, especially after John lost his fortune in investments related to the War of 1812. I have this book, and I'm wondering if he's mentioned in this. I'm wondering. So after the husband died and Brooks went to live with her brother on his coffee plantation in Manzana, is it the S silent? Cuba. She went to Cuba. He died soon after. Good grief, everybody dying around this woman. Okay, he died soon after her arrival, which left her with a settled income, so that's good. During this time, she began to write the poems she would become most famous for, and wait a minute, Zophiel, umlaut, that's Manifest Destiny for 1845, a lot of weird kooky stuff, and conspiracy starts and whatnot, all the stuff. Anyways, thank you very much. Please leave a comment down below and let me know if anything interested you or if it was snooze fest. Because, man, a lot of rear admirals, a lot of politics, but there's some interesting stuff in here. And let me know if you've learned anything, because I learned a ton every single month, every single year. Manifest Destiny. Talk to you guys in the comment section. Love y'all. Bye.